cook.
I'm Ellen Maxwell.
Eddie Maxwell.
Edward Harmon.
Georgiana Epperly Harmon.
Zero right now.
Yeah, he can do the math. I can't. We've been married 36 years and we dated 4 years prior to that.
65 years.
I'm married. We'll be married 22 years and have 4 children. I've done a lot of volunteer work in this community. One of the main things I've done is work at a place called AvaCare, where women come in for a pregnancy test for unplanned pregnancy. And I'm able to, because of that experience, talk to probably hundreds of women in the past 15 years that I've been there, just one-on-one about their relationships and the health of their relationships, and and watch through a lot of relationship difficulty with friends and in my own personal life.
I was 20.
I was 23.
We were old when we got married. I was 25.
Well, I was
And
21.
I know, but most of my friends got married when they were 18 and 19.
I'm 26, so my clock is starting to tick, so though I'm not in a hurry.
Oh, she's just a lovely person.
All right, be honest.
I did.
Oh, that's sweet. Eddie has a lot of determination, and he's provided really well for his family. He's made that his goal, I think, in life, is to do his best for his family, and ambitious. He's really ambitious, and I think when I was young, that was the main thing I liked, was that he had ambition, and I knew that ambition would get us through.
Oh, your mom was the same way. We both had similar goals.
Well, he was kind and good, and if I did anything crazy, he never brought it up to me, and he just loved me no matter what I did. Sometimes some crazy things.
I started dating her. It didn't take too long for me to want to marry her. But we dated 3 years before we got married.
One of the main things is working together. You each one have one aim for your marriage, and working together. That's, to me, is the thing, one of the most important things you need to do.
We decided we would go see the world before we got old, because we figured that whenever you got old, that when you retired, you were just real tired. You didn't feel like going and doing anything, and I think we did it the right way.
Yeah.
Can you answer that?
Well, let's see, I thought of something, now I've forgotten it. Required to discuss. Well,
The
certainly.
future, you discuss the future.
Well, what in your future?
Well, definitely family and future limits, obviously, you need to discuss that.
Your values, your beliefs, how you handle situations, how you handle your friends, how you treat one another, how you treat others, all that you notice in your partner.
I think that what has been modeled to them as they've grown up as a relationship should be talked about. What their parents were like in their relationship, if there was a single parent, what that was like. That definitely should be talked about, because I think no matter how much you maybe want to be like your parents or you don't want to be like your parents, you tend to pick up patterns and you pick up that modeling from them. And so if they have if there are different models and you're coming together in a marriage, then it's going to take a lot more communication to figure out how you're trying to relate to each other. So I think that's one thing.
Well, I think like both of our parents had good, strong marriages. They were, his parents and my parents both were committed to one another, and I think that set a wonderful example for us to follow. And I think too, maybe we saw some people whose marriages didn't last, and the hurt feelings that go on and the disappointments and all. So I think we wanted to work hard to make ours last.
I feel like in a relationship, you gotta be honest with each other and keep the communication open for a good relationship.
I think you should talk about previous relationships. This is a lot of times healthy when you have a third party, like a pastor or a counselor or somebody who can maybe mediate conversation. Maybe you talk about it in private as well, but before you get married, I think it's a good idea to sit down with a pastor or a counselor and walk through some past relationships, maybe not details, but things that have hurt you or things that your potential spouse needs to know about. So I'd say past relationships, and including sexual relationships, because that tends to show up in your sexual life. Like, there are problems sometimes in your sexual life because of past experiences that you've had sexually. So that all, I think, needs to be cleared away, and you need to be honest and talk about those kinds of things before you tie the knot. I mean, there are other things. I could go on and on. Definitely finances and other things that you'll need to talk about, how you're going to bring your children up, how many children you want, all these kinds of things. But I'd say those are your basic ones that you want to talk about.
If you date long enough, you find out if that person's going to stick by your side. Mostly realize that it's a commitment, and it is a lifetime commitment, because when you get married, you make a promise. It's an oath that you take before God and family and friends, and your oath and your promise to one another is that you'll be true to one another, and you'll stick by one another's side through thick and thin until you die. And I think you need to take that seriously. And both people be on the same page about that.
I think that when you address those topics, you're thinking long term about your relationship. You're looking back, but you're also looking forward. You're saying, okay, I've seen these mistakes, and I don't want to repeat these mistakes in my marriage. Or I've made these mistakes, and I want to learn from those, and I want to move on. So I think that one of the biggest dangers about heading into a marriage is just short-term thinking and not really looking at yourselves as a unit and what do we want to be like as a unit. How do we want to plan for children? How do we want to plan for our future careers? And, so I just think that it's really important to think long term, and some of what we do in our culture today, I feel like is so, oh, it'll just happen to me and we'll just go with the flow and whatever happens, and it's kind of this romantic idea of, my Prince Charming will come and we'll just be, attracted to each other and we'll be able to, have this wonderful life together. But it's a little more complicated than that, and I think talking about those things helps you to make decisions before problems happen. Problems are going to happen, fights are going to happen, but if you have a solid idea of how you want your marriage to be, then those problems don't become huge. They're able to be worked out.
I would say don't give up too soon.
Yeah.
Give things time.
Get to know each other before you get married.
I think people should give it more of a chance. Divorce is easy to come by these days, really easy. And I think you just need to give it some more time and try to stick things out. I think there's like a false sense of how it's going to be.
Yeah.
And it's really not like that once you're married. And you have to be good communicators. You have to be able to tell one another how you're feeling about this or that. And I think, you have to be friends and treat one another like a friend treats a friend.
Yeah. Treat each other like you do your friends, not like you do husband and wife.
I think communication is probably the most important thing to relationships. So you need to know who you're communicating and with, and how to interpret various signals from them, and that's probably the biggest piece of relationship advice and everything that I know of, to keep the communication open.
They need to share each other when they go places. Go together. If she goes somewhere, I go with her, and vice versa. And we've done that all our life. We go to the groceries together, we go to church together, different places. We go out to eat together.
In our culture, they just kind of, things happen to them, as opposed to saying, this is the kind of marriage that I want. And therefore, these are the things I'm going to do now to prepare for that. Those are the people who are happily married, typically, as opposed to people who are just kind of sliding into a relationship.
He's right. Don't rush into things. Wait until you're ready. But also, I think couples give up too soon sometimes. And even though when times get bad, where you have your valleys, things aren't going so well, stick it out, stick through it, because there's always better days. So you have a lot of people every time you turn around. When are y'all gonna get married? You've been dating so long. When are you gonna get married? How many years have you been dating? Why haven't y'all gotten married? You just get a lot of that. And I don't think we really let that pressure us do. We pretty much, knew that when we would get married, and we weren't in a hurry. We had things we wanted to accomplish first.
If I didn't like shopping all the time, I was okay. And if she didn't like riding motorcycles and building old cars, then that was okay.
That's right.
I would say take a communications class or read some books on how to communicate. That was the main thing that our premarital counselor focused on, is how to have a healthy fight, basically, and just how to respond to your spouse in a healthy way. I think that so many couples communicate like this, and she has good intentions, he has good intentions, and they completely miss the good intentions, and they don't give each other the benefit of the doubt. They think the worst about their intentions, and I've been akin to that. I mean, I've done that in my marriage where I'm not giving my husband the benefit of the doubt. But if you are never taught to recognize it, then you can't solve the problem. So I would say if there's any sort of marriage course or communications class, or what's the name of your class that you're taking right now?
Communication and romantic relationships.
Okay, communication and romantic relationships. If you could learn how to communicate in a healthy way, I think that's the number one, I guess, key to a healthy marriage is communicating well.
Technical difficulties, okay. I was a little distracted.
Can you turn it down a little bit?
I know we've been talking about getting divorced.
Well, I don't think I ever said what I meant to.
Counseling sessions before we got married.
And I fell asleep, and it was just him, and I was sitting here just like this, and
And I went like,
she was.
I went, he didn't see Eddie. Thank goodness. I still married him.
That's it.